Call the meeting of the Bay County Veterans Affairs Committee to order. It's a little after 3 o'clock, April 16th. Looks like we're being filmed today, so we have to behave, right? Roll call.
Marilyn Lazars.
Here.
Mike Brigandy.
Here.
Troy Stewart.
Here.
John Van Tall.
Absent.
And Vaughn Begary.
Yep, here.
Quorum present.
Alrighty, minutes 3/19/2019. Need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as read.
Support.
I second that motion.
Alrighty. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Citizen input. This is the time for citizen input. No citizen input.
Well, you are a citizen here.
All right. Mr. Zippler, why don't you say your name? 'Cause we're going to be recording and stuff here.
As usual, Fred Zippler. A few things I'd like to say here. I want to just speak on the hot button topic, what seems like a hot button topic of the transportation program. I got to change glasses, sorry. Okay, before going any further, I must say, that these are my words and my words alone. They were not written in collaboration with anyone, nor with advice from anyone. Therefore, I ask that any and all sneers, jeers, slings, and arrows be directed at me, and not at anyone seated behind me or anyone not in attendance. I'm told that the committee here is doing or going to be doing an overall evaluation. I hate these glasses. Overall comprehensive evaluation of our transportation system. In my opinion, there is no one on this committee qualified to perform such an overall, and I stress overall, function. All anyone on this committee can do right now is go through invoices and add up numbers. That's nothing more than an exercise in arithmetic. In order to do a complete evaluation on anything is to get involved. No one on this committee, or on the now defunct Soldiers and Sailors Committee, has lifted a finger to do that. In fact, may I say that no one in the old Soldiers and Sailors lifted a finger to do much of anything, with the exception of Mike Burke, who rides herd over Vets Park. My advice, for what it's worth, is to ride along with these drivers for a few weeks, not for a day, for a few weeks. See what they do and experience what they go through. These drivers are the experts, not me or not anyone here. Let them help you with any analysis you feel you have to do. Now, at your last committee meeting, I had asked raising our driver's compensation from $1 per passenger to $5 per passenger. That would cost approximately $250 a week. And at 52 weeks, the overall gross cost would be $13,000 per year. Then when you back out holidays and bad weather days, that should be a net cost of a little under $12,000 per year. Considering Bay County received a $70,000 plus grant, coupled with the current millage, this nominal increase for our drivers would seem very doable. I also understand there's considerable costs associated with the program, vehicle maintenance, gas, insurance, etc. In my opinion, excuse me, this is a very small price to pay intending to the needs of the veterans of Bay County, many of whom are combat veterans and/or suffer with moderate to severe psychological problems. In addition to this request for increased compensation for our drivers, I would ask that they be issued county cell phones so they don't have to continue to use their personal phones. Any purchasing department worth their salt should be able to get a deal on this. On another topic was brought to my attention, the possible existence of scammers, shammers, and dishonesty among some of our passengers. These types of people exist in all walks of life these days. It's not limited to the big four, as they used to call them, the used car salesmen, insurance salesmen, attorneys, and career politicians. Oh, no offense, Vaughn and Counselor. I'm speaking of the DC bunch, okay? Sorry, Vaughn, I did it again, didn't I? All we can do is when we come across these people, we weed them out. No claiming travel pay, no rides for lab work only, no rides for picking up or paying for prescriptions. We accept scheduled appointments only. In any overall analysis of anything, cheaper doesn't mean better. I have more on another subject, but I think I took up enough of your time here, for now anyhow. Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I really didn't mean to offend anybody again. Thank you.
Anybody else?
My name's Art Schubeck. I'm the Vets Council Commander. Several veterans have been calling me about a problem they say they have, and that's about putting flags out on Memorial Day. Yeah, we do use the old flags from the year before, Mike, because I was told that that was one of your deals that you were wondering about, yeah.
Yeah, you know, what I'm interested in is, how do my little comments get around to this little clip? So I'm gonna tell you right now, Fred, and I'm gonna tell you, you're not getting any more comments from me.
The only thing I wanted to let you know is we do use the flags that were left over from the year before.
Where do you store those flags?
The cemeteries pick them up and they store them over at the PLAV, I guess. I wasn't sure where, but I know Jamie Davis would know for sure because we use his every year in their old flags. But anybody that is a veteran, has a veteran stone, gets a flag. That has been for years. And to change that now would be a slap in the face to our veterans. And thank Mike for what you do.
Mike?
Yeah.
Mike, I did not link that to anybody. 2 people called me on this, I had no clue. I'll gladly tell you their names if you would like.
Can we have people come up to the podium, please? Speak. Anybody else want to speak? Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? All right. Petitions and communications. Transportation statistics for first quarter. You should have a copy. Except for Craig, copy I took. According to this, the vets have the brown car, the Ford van, the Chrysler van, and the black car. So total volunteer hours he's got here. By the way, Fred, I did drive the car for 2 years. I drove for 2 years. I know it's a long day. I did 2 years of it. I also ran the battery down on the van, had to call for road assistance to get back. Because I left the motor on in the lift, like somebody else may have done, but I know it's not an easy job. So we've got this, any questions on the statistics there? I know the county has provided vehicles or got them from either from Bay Metro or from the sheriff's department when we needed more vehicles. So I think we've been trying to be accommodating and getting the vehicles out there for you. Any other questions from the committee? All righty. Emergency relief guidelines, first reading.
Point of order, Commissioner.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there a motion to receive transportation statistics?
Pardon?
A motion to receive
Oh, yeah, okay,
transportation
yeah.
statistics?
Motion to receive the transportation statistics for the first quarter as received.
Motion and support to receive the statistics. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Emergency relief guidelines, first reading. And this is the first reading, so this is not going to be anything final. Any comments on the, I think Marilyn had some comments.
I have a question
Yeah.
for Amber.
Yes.
Do we have to follow the Act of 190 of 1965 in Section 1 and the Act 214 of 1899 in Section 35.21 regarding these policies?
We are required to follow the applicable statutes. However, it's important for the board to remember, and this is going to be a bit of a challenge, I think, for the first year because it's a bit of a new concept, that we need to keep that grant funding separate because the grant funding falls under one statute, which is Veterans Relief, the State Veterans Trust Fund, and we have millage funds which fall under what was historically Soldiers and Sailors Relief. There is going to be some differences in terms of actually who qualifies for that relief and who doesn't qualify for that relief. The term veteran is defined differently under those two statutes. This is good a time as any. I think I would like to introduce the board to Heather Brady-Kucher, who is Assistant Corporation Counsel. She is taking over for Shona Walraven. You had some questions at the last board meeting with regards to who is actually a qualifying veteran under those two statutes and whether or not our drivers were going to be required to have chauffeurs licenses as a result of receiving compensation for the work, the volunteering that they do. Heather actually has drafted a memo, and she will be able to distribute that to you and give you a little bit more in-depth analysis of a little later on in the agenda when we get to the compensation for drivers section. But the answer is yes, some changes are going to need to be made to these guidelines just because of the fact that depending on which fund you're spending out of, the definition of veteran is going to be different. So who qualifies for those services is going to be different under each statute. So it depends on what budget you're spending out of.
Any other questions? This is the first reading, so we will still be looking for.
I have a comment on the last line of this. You know, I'm just a poor kid from the South End, but I don't understand that. It makes no sense to me. The veteran may not receive assistance if it will not prevent them from coming back for additional assistance. So somebody is making a call on, oh, okay, if we give him assistance, he's not ever going to come back here again. Well, I don't think you can say that. You know, that's an interpretation that is impossible to do. So I recommend that be stricken.
Double negative, a couple knots in there. Yeah, it is a little confusing.
Yeah.
So we'll take a look at that last line. As I mentioned, I talked to John over the weekend, and he probably has some comments on this too, so I think we definitely need to, we'll take a look at it again next meeting.
You may want to consider also, Mr. Chair, adding a provision in for a definition of what this board is going to consider indigent, because indigency is not defined in either statute. So I think everybody needs to be on the same page to decide what this board is going to consider for indigency for purposes of providing aid and relief.
Any other comments on the And I think you passed, did you pass those around your committee that was looking at this? Some of the comments on the soldiers and sailors? So we'll have to,
I wasn't on the committee.
all right, you were on it, yeah.
Which comments?
The Johnson.
The committee, we had a meeting with John,
John, okay.
Troy, and myself, and we're going to schedule another meeting.
Yeah. So I don't know, do we need a motion on this, or just this is this first reading? Okay.
I move we accept the first reading with the recommended changes and table it to the next meeting.
Support.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, reports and resolutions, committee rules. We've looked at these a couple times.
Oh,
Any comments on the committee rules? It pretty much mirrors our Board of Commissioners rules, yeah.
I did have a couple of changes to put in. I have not had an opportunity to incorporate them yet, so my request would be, if possible, to refer back to administration until the next meeting.
Okay. All right, need a motion to refer back to administration?
Support.
Well, I need a motion.
Oh, I thought you were, sorry, I thought you were doing it as a legal.
I so moved to table these till the next meeting,
Okay.
after the changes come through.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Grant budget approval. Mr. Boulay passed out a proposed grant budget, which I have here. At the computers, monitors, technology upgrade, 5,000, database software, 5,000, promotional, 2,000, uniforms, 500, contractual, 20,000, remodel, 43,500, total for 76,000, which is what our grant is. If you want to talk about that.
So the budget that's before you is very rough draft. I don't have definitive numbers from various things. Things are not broke out. This is basically just as an informational piece to start utilizing some of those funds for those things that, were discussed, computers, things of that nature, as well as adjustments within those various, and finance within the line items. So those computers, for instance, if there's, furniture, things that we will update, those will be not lumped together, for instance, with that remodel. Those will be broke up, within that project, if you will. So the goal of this was to give a very high-level overview of what those dollars would be used for, but more detail will be forthcoming.
Greg, I would like to see a consideration for a couple of other items. One being Thanksgiving food baskets. I think we used to do that years ago, and I think we've gotten away from it because there was no funds available. And the other one would be Christmas food baskets, which in the recent past, all of the Christmas food baskets have come from the American Legion and the auxiliary of the American Legion, about $1,500 worth. So I think, I'd like to see, 2,000 or 3,000 put into a needy veteran family food baskets. And those could be done, with the gift cards, so you don't have to wait till holidays. You can buy the gift cards now and have them on hand for Crystal to give out as needed.
I want to thank Craig for taking this on. I know now when you go down to the second floor, it's kind of like a lot of things in the military. It's kind of a room that was added to a room that was used for something else. I think having this on the first floor when the veterans' families come in, not just the veterans, but maybe on the first floor when they come to see the clerk or they come to see the treasurer's department or Cindy down there, the register of deeds, I mean, then they're gonna see the Veterans Office on the first floor, which is gonna make a big difference. It'll be to the left, for those that don't know, it'll be, as you come through the front doors, it'll be to the left where the register of deeds is currently. Right now, a lot of the people that come to the county never will go to the second floor, and they would never see that. So this will be good awareness, and we're going to start off with new equipment, which is unusual for a lot of things that are added in military side anyways. I can tell you in my time, it was unusual to get new programs, new computers, new office space, new furniture. Not that we need it, but I think the veterans that are coming in needs to be a professional place. I think this is money well spent. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. So.
The grant has a deadline of September 30th. If we don't spend it, probably goes back.
So we can do it.
So we do have a timeline to look at that, or, tight timeline. I don't know if the general audience knows what the plans are, if you want to explain the contractual part of it, or what's involved in that.
Are you, Mr. Chair, are you talking about in regards to the proposed, when we're talking about possibly remodeling an area?
Yeah.
Or, okay, sure.
Yeah.
One of the things that is utilized or can be utilized for this, or this grant can be utilized for, is updating, remodeling, things of that nature, if there's a work area, office area. For us, most of the veteran service officer and the emergency relief coordinator are stationed currently on the second floor behind the old supervisor meeting chambers. After some thought and kicking around, I guess, some various ideas, one possible landing area was what currently is on the first floor of the treasurer's office. That area would be remodeled, offices would be constructed, furniture would be ordered, things of that nature, and that is where veterans would go for emergency relief or for processing claims with the veteran service officer, bringing more visibility, as Mr. Stewart mentioned, and certainly raising the profile of the department and where veterans come for various services. So that is why that is on the current budget item, which is being discussed right now. So, okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Anything else on the budget? I guess motion be ordered to receive the preliminary budget.
Make a motion to receive the preliminary budget as presented, with the thought of possibly adding gift cards for Thanksgiving and Christmas food baskets.
Any support for that?
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All righty. Old business. Scheduler position. Wish to address that?
Last meeting, it was brought up that the schedulers that had a lot before decided to take it back on with the cell phone they had and pretty much do around-the-clock scheduling. And I said I'd make a contact with Detroit VA and Saginaw VA to see if it's possible for a veteran to have a notice sent to the scheduler so we don't miss a veteran who's maybe elderly or suffers from mental incapacitation. Neither one of the places are allowed to do that, only because they can't list the veterans' names when they do the follow-ups and the reminders. One thing they did recommend, and I checked it myself in my own VA appointments, when you leave there, you can ask for 2 copies of your schedule. And that's not a problem. They will give that to you. 1 copy can be kept at home for the veteran. 1 copy can be given to the scheduler. And it can be as much as 9 months out or 6 months. Mine are typically 6-month schedules. So that's something we can do for the scheduler to maybe help for the men and women that forget their appointments, and maybe the scheduler can just call as a reminder. We haven't heard from you on Tuesday. You have an appointment Thursday. Do you still need to arrive to that appointment? But that's just that's what I found out about being able to notice, but they're not allowed to do that because they can't list the names. However, they will at the VA, both Detroit and Saginaw. I can't imagine Ann Arbor being different. They'll give them 2 copies of their schedule, so one can be turned into us with their phone number, and it's something the veteran can do on their own.
Any other comments? I don't know if there's any action we want to take, or just... All righty. Compensation for drivers. about that before. I know the issue about compensation, liability, legal ramifications of, sounds like we're still discussing that.
And Mr. Chair, Ms. Butcher does have a memo that she can distribute to the board where she can discuss a little more further what the potential liability could be, as well as the separate issue of the different veterans that are qualified to receive assistance under the two different acts.
What's that?
$5 you're asking?
I looked at two issues. The second issue deals with the chauffeur's license for the volunteer drivers. There is a chauffeur's requirement for a driver if the person is a motor carrier of passengers, and they define motor carrier as someone who holds him or herself out to the public as willing to transport passengers for hire by bus. They define bus as a motor vehicle having a seating capacity of 9 or more passengers. At the beginning of the meeting, they said that our van holds 6 people plus the driver and an amigo. So it would not fall under the definition of bus. However, if there was ever a motor vehicle with a seating capacity over 9 passengers, I believe there would be a chauffeur's license required if the drivers are accepting or receiving compensation. When I initially drafted this memo, I didn't know what our capacity of our motor vehicle was, but if there's anything over 9, a seating capacity for 9 or more passengers, I believe that these drivers would require a chauffeur's license. There is an exemption for a chauffeur's license if the person is operating the motor vehicle for a volunteer program. I don't necessarily think that the Veterans Affairs would qualify as a volunteer program, even though the transportation aspects of it may qualify. I think the safer route would not to proceed under that exemption. I did look into what it would require to get a chauffeur's license. There's no road test. It's a $35 fee at the Secretary of State, and it would require a paper test, and they give you a pamphlet on how to prepare for that. I think from a legal standpoint, that would be my recommendation, if the drivers would be willing to do that, just to limit their exposure, considering that it's a relatively small fee and the testing isn't too extensive. I do understand that our vehicle doesn't qualify as a bus, but if there were an expansion later on, it might open the drivers up to some liability if they don't have their chauffeur's license.
I did take the chauffeur's license when I drove. I remember Bruce suggested we do it, so yes, it was a fee and then a written test, and they gave you a booklet ahead of time, and if you read the booklet, you could pass the test. So it wasn't that big of a deal, and we might be able to maybe pay the fee if we have some funds.
Right.
So, how many? Maybe I can just ask. How many of you have chauffeur's licenses? Any of you drivers? Tom's got one. Or yeah, it's not.
When you're starting with new drivers, they don't have a chauffeur's license and they're not running the vehicle.
Yeah.
That's the biggest problem. They go, well, then I can't drive.
Yeah.
I went to the drivers and I told them what I was doing, and they recommended I do not need, because of the what she brought up, 6 or less and volunteer. So there's about 3 parts in the booklet that we have a grace period not to, we believe.
So guess. Up still, so, we have some discussion about compensation for drivers. I don't know if we want to pursue that at this time. Any comments from the committee?
Heather, so I briefly read this. This doesn't preclude us from giving compensation to drivers since we're not in there.
I'm sorry.
We don't fall in the line of chauffeurs, so this would not preclude us from compensating drivers in our current situation, correct?
Right, if there were no compensation, there would not be a requirement for the chauffeur's license, but since they're even receiving a nominal compensation, it would put them under that requirement. Obviously, if it's a vehicle with a 9 or more passenger vehicle. So as I understand it now, the vehicle doesn't qualify, so I just, on a going forward standpoint, if the motor vehicle seating was expanded, then that would require them to get a chauffeur's license. But as it is now with just a 6 passenger vehicle, it would not be required to get the chauffeur's license.
And we're also not we're also not hampered in able to give them $1 or $5 or whatever we choose per ride. We could do that since we're under 9.
Right, since you're under the 9 person.
The 474, 103. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Craig, I have a question here. How much for this quarter, first quarter of 2019, how much was expended on the driver's stipend, the $1 per passenger?
I should have brought that information. I thought I had that in my finance. Well, I don't have it in front of me.
We can get it.
I can definitely get it back to you, but per ride, it's a $1.
It's $1 right now, but
I can easily grab you that. And grab,
Fred threw some numbers out of $17,000 a year to give them an increase up to $5 per person. 12,000.
In January, the estimate was 23,000 for the year, for last year. January's meeting.
Well, based on that, I move we table the driver's compensation till next meeting, till we have how much we've given them for this quarter. And then we can determine what we can afford to raise that to.
I'll get that to you.
So we have a motion to table compensation for drivers to the next meeting. Any support?
Support.
I'll make a motion that we table the compensation for drivers till
We have a
the...
motion.
Maybe.
Just need a support.
You got support.
I'll support you.
Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, new business. We have a new business.
I have new business. Flags, Memorial Day flags. Historically, for years, the county has purchased Memorial Day flags to be given to the various veteran service organizations to be placed on the graves of those veterans that are in the respective cemeteries that veteran service organization is responsible for. We have purchased in the past approximately $3,097 of flags per year, which comes out to about, what, 3,000 flags? Yeah, about 3,000 flags. So the question becomes, do we need to use that many flags every year? I know at the end of Memorial Day, Oak Ridge picks the flags up. They put them in the boxes for me. I go over and I pick them up, and they go upstairs in the American Legion. And they're reusable. The stick has that much dirt on it. Now, if it's raining or something, they probably wouldn't be reusable. But that flag it's rolled up very nicely. It is not tattered. It's not pulled off the stick, and it can be reused. So the question becomes, how many flags do we have out there that can be reused? Now, we've waited a little long because Memorial Day is coming up rapidly. So in order to cover our requirements for this year, I have a recommendation that we purchase the 3,000 flags for Memorial Day 2019, with the caveat that all of the veteran service organizations pick their flags up from the cemetery, store them, and reuse them next year if they're serviceable. You know, and if you guys need some, I probably got 3,000 upstairs at the American Legion. So that's my motion. I think I can make it a two-part motion, can I?
That's an expenditure.
Yeah.
Any support for the motion?
I support.
So the motion is to purchase 3,000 flags this year, but then retrieve the flags, store them, and hopefully have them available for next year.
And we go up on a needs basis next year, like, okay, if I usually get 1,200 for the American Legion, which is usually what I get, and I get 900 fairly serviceable flags back, then I only need 300 next year. And I can tell you I won't need hardly any next year. But I don't know what Plum, I don't know what AMVETS does, and I don't know what the small outlying township cemeteries do.
I know Van Digby does quite a bit of flags, and I don't know what his count is and where he stores them.
And I don't know if all of the cemeteries pick them up after Memorial Day, if they leave them out there and then they get weathered and they get thrown out. I don't know.
We have a church cemetery out on West Side Saginaw, and Paul Begitt comes out and talks to the kids every year about Memorial Day and what it's about. And then we take the kids out and we put the flags out.
Yeah.
And the kids go out and pick up the flags, but you know, it's a smaller cemetery, so we don't have that many, but.
We do Oak Ridge, 1,200 flags, and the Boy Scouts help us. And then the day after, the cemetery workers, the crew, picks up all the flags and puts them in the boxes for us.
Harold?
How would we go about telling the other posts when they pick up the flags at the American Legion?
Yeah, I'll
And
tell
you
them.
would tell them?
I will put a memorandum together saying, hey, you gotta, you know, this is not you're getting the same number every year. You know, it's a needs basis.
All right, yeah, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any other new business? I did have a talk with Mr. Van Tola a bit and about some of these items, and I'm sure he'll be getting back with you. Vets Council was one thing we talked about, and I think that's something I might take on, is to come to a Vets Council meeting and actually look at Vets Council and what your charge is and how you were started. And I mean, there's a lot of history there that goes back a long time. So I think we need to figure out how this committee can help the Vets Council out and how you can help us out. So we don't want to be different groups doing the same thing and spending money that we could work together on. So I think that's one of my projects, is to get to Vets Council and talk to you about your charge, your funds. I know you have some foundation money that you've got to charge to take care of monuments, things like that. But I think I just need more detail of what the charter is for the Vets Council and what we can do from this committee to help the Vets Council out, or you help us too. So I'll be getting a hold of probably Mr. Schubach and Mr. Zippler and talking about that a little bit. Don't need any action on that, but just we'll take care of. Any other new business? Any announcements? Next meeting would be the third Tuesday of the month at 3 p.m., which I think would be the 15th of May. No, 14th? No, it's not the 3rd, it's the
May
21st.
21st.
21st, yeah. First is on a Wednesday. Anything else? Let's have some comment at the end. We have time, so we'll have citizens input at the end. I know a lot of the townships have.
Just in support of Mike and Troy on two things. Mike was talking about reusing flags. These guys or these organizations know ahead of time how many flags they're going to need. I know how many ambulances they're going to need. The Elm Lawn Cemetery, they're stacked from floor to ceiling darn near. And we're not going to need, I think we get 6 or 7 boxes a year.
Usually you get 6 or 7.
I guarantee you we're not going to need that. And these other places can do it.
And that's what I need, you know, I know how many I need from the Legion.
Yeah.
I probably only need half what I normally do.
Yeah. But they'll know ahead of time. I wouldn't recommend buying another 3,000 flags. I really wouldn't. But it's up to
I think we
you.
already passed that, motion. This will be the last year that you're gonna get that many. Harbor your assets and reuse them as you can.
And the ones we don't, or you don't use, will you keep them at the Legion?
Yeah.
So we could use them if you need them the following year. But I guarantee you, we're not going to need 6, 7 boxes of flags. Not going to happen.
Yeah, I usually use 12 boxes.
Really.
You know, I probably got
There's a gross,
3 or 4 new boxes.
there's 144 per box, is that correct?
144 in a box, that's correct.
Well, we don't need them. I don't need that.
Well, let your post know, if you got somebody in charge of your flag program, you know, I do it at the Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that this might be the last year they're getting new flags.
Oh, it will be the last year if I have anything to do with it.
That's a lot of money that we could use.
Yes,
for
there
other
is.
things.
Yes, there is. And somebody was, the Christmas, or Thanksgiving and Christmas gift program, what have you. Somebody mentioned food. We had this problem, I think it was 2 years ago. A lot of these folks have, I think it was bridge cards, if I remember right. And with a bridge card, you can't, I hope I'm right here, they couldn't buy laundry soap, paper towels, Kleenexes. Is that correct? Is anybody?
No, I don't know. With a bridge card, I don't think they can, but we don't
Right.
get bridge cards. What Crystal does, she usually goes over to Kroger.
Yeah, she give them gift cards.
Right, but I think she gets a stipulation on there that they can't purchase tobacco or alcohol.
Oh, right. Bob, I was going to suggest, being if they can't buy, like the laundry soap and dish soap and what have you.
Yeah.
I think it was 2, 3 years ago. I got McDonald's that they donated a whole crap house full of stuff like that. I mean, a ton of it. Of stuff they couldn't buy with bridge cards at the time or what have you. There's something to think about. I mean, don't.
It's a good thought, but there again, you got, and I'll ask the same question I asked at the American Legion, which belly button's gonna do that?
Well, yeah.
We don't have the volunteers we used to have.
And one thing, Troy, about the VA notifying us, the VA doesn't know. I tried calling you on this, by the way. I know you was going to Detroit that one week, and I tried getting hold of you. They don't know who we bring down.
Right.
Which is, so therefore they couldn't do it that way. They couldn't call us and say, on the schedule we have Joe Blow and Sally Smith, because they don't.
If the veteran can put the transportation phone as one of the reminder calls, but they can't do that because then you still wouldn't know which veteran that they send the.
That's correct, that's correct.
But they can do a second appointment schedule that can be dropped off or mailed to the schedule.
Oh, yeah, because I know when I go down, every time I leave, and probably with you too, when you're checking out, they list your upcoming appointments, and you can get online too as well. It's just up to that veteran to.
Yeah, I hate to miss a veteran that forgets, and so they can send it to the schedule, then maybe we can make a quick phone call.
Oh, yeah, well, they'll call, I'm telling you.
Well, they do.
They'll call. I said 15 to 18 calls a day last meeting. I was wrong. It's like 25. The most he had was 43 in one day.
Until you accept it, they keep calling.
That's right. And they'll call you 3 or 4 times. Make sure, am I, you're going to pick me up. You're going to be, yes.
They're good about that.
I'm sorry, I'm good.
Make a motion, we adjourn until the May meeting.
Always in order? Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.